All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining TechStylers July Meetup. TechStylers is a group of all of us women, lovers of technology, and we're just basically trying to support each other to grow and to learn more in the tech space. And we have a lot of ladies out there that are not so sure how to get started, have a lot of doubts if they can actually keep up with the pace in technology. It's an unending journey, right? So new things keep coming up, and they keep wondering, can I keep all these balls in the air? I have my family, I have children, I have my mom, have my parents. So the purpose of Textilers is to hear the stories of women who have done amazingly well for themselves, listen to how they have sailed through over the years and how they have thrived and stayed in the tech space. So I believe strongly that all these inspirational stories and also learning the technology would help the younger women to know that yes, you can do this also, and you can also stay and thrive in the tech space. So our first speaker for today, so I welcome all of us again, and I know that it's going to be a great time. We have amazing speakers lined up for today, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So our first speaker for today is Amara. Amara is one of us, a textiler, and she also teaches the ladies. Uh, we have other sessions. We have other sessions that are like smaller, specifically one-on-one sessions, helping the ladies who haven't heard of the Power Platform, helping them get started. So Amara runs those sessions, and she's on the call today. She wants to share her story with us, how she got started, and how well she has been doing, and basically what she's been up to so far. So with so much excitement, Amara, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Eliza. Good evening, Gita.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, Queen. Hi, Mali. Okay, my name is Amara. So I'm going to be talking about my Power Platform story. So I'll be sharing my screen now. Please, I want to get hello. So I'll be turning off my camera. Sorry. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Okay, so going to be starting now. So my name is Amara. We're going to be talking about me. My Twitter account is nnaya__, and you can follow me on LinkedIn and I'll follow back. I'm a SharePoint administrator at Avia Technologies. I've been in that role for like a year and a half now. And I have 2 certifications, one for managing Microsoft SharePoint Server 2016 and IT Foundation certificate. I got this earlier this year. So starting, okay, this is my agenda, where it all began, challenges, lessons learned so far, and in view. So where it all began, it began at work actually. Okay, so when I graduated, like in 2016, I went for NYC, that's like a 1-year compulsory service and all that. Then I started working June 2018, yes, June 4, I can't remember. So I was employed as a graduate intern. So as a new person, I didn't really know much about Power Platforms. I didn't even get to know about Power Platforms until like later in the year, let's say around November. So, and then I was okay. When after that I was supposed to do my internship for like 6 months. I was supposed to do my internship for 6 months, which was from June to like November, and then it's either they take you in as a full-time staff or they send you away. So you just go and look for a different job. So then I was introduced to SharePoint. I didn't know about SharePoint. I got to the company. I work in Technologies in Lagos here. I didn't know about SharePoint, anything that was related to SharePoint or any. I was just like a novice. I was a novice at that year, like eventually that June when I first got to the company. So with SharePoint, then they made me attend a meeting where they talked about Power Apps and everything, and they were like, okay, they're trying to like move from their normal coding for creating the mobile applications using real code like JavaScript and all that, like C# and all that, to Power Apps, which was simpler. And then there was like there was nobody in the company, not like there was nobody, there were like a few people in the company who knew about Power Apps. So we can actually count them, let's say like 2 people in the company that knew about Power Apps and everything. So that's during the meeting, they were like, okay, Amari, are going to be involved in this Power Apps project thing. So we are going to use it to like learn it, like get used to it, and then you'll be able to create an application, like a workflow using Power Apps. To be honest, that day it was just like they were speaking gibberish to me. I didn't even know what was happening. It was just like gibberish. I didn't know. Like, oh, that was Power Apps. Like, how does that work? In my head, I felt it was like coding, and I don't like coding, to be very honest. I don't like coding. So the funny part of everything is I am a computer scientist. My BSc is computer science. So just imagine a computer science not liking code and every other thing. So just somehow. So later in the year, I was told to like, okay, my first Power Apps was I was told to create a service request application. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Yes, we can, Amara.
Sorry. Okay, so I was told to create a service request where it was going to be they just said it was going to just be a simple application and everything, so it's no need for complications and just something simple, and it's going to be a 2-way approval. So that's when I started. That was like when I started Power Apps for real. And then my boss was actually very supportive, so he gave me videos of Shane Young. He said, take these videos, go and start watching them, and you will get used to Power Apps. You can just start creating your Power Apps and everything. I started like the whole interface thing because there was like a BROD, so we just had to create the whole use the whole text box, labels, and all those things. I created this, but I didn't know how to link them. That was where the issue that's where the issue started from. I didn't know how to link them, and I was not used to the functions yet. So when the videos I was watching was like, okay, this is a new thing. The man is just talking. He's talking like, I was like, I don't even know what he's saying. I don't know where I'm supposed to put this and all that. So I had to ask my boss, and he was also a very, very busy person. So it's not like he doesn't have that much time to listen to you listen to you explain what issues you are going through. So in my head, I would just be like, God, how will I do this thing? I would just start. When I get to work, I would just be like, please, I have a question, please. Can you help me? The man would be like, and he'll be like, Amara, I'm busy. Come back later. And that kind of thing. So I would just go back up to my seat. I would be like, God, what am I supposed to do next? And all that. But to be very honest, it was actually very helpful. At least anytime I go back later, he actually answered me. And it's always like, if I have any other issues, I should also refer to the videos he sent to me and everything. So that was how it was. And I went for sent it. I had to do a presentation for the app too. When I did the presentation, that was when they added other requirements too. They needed to include some other functionalities and all that in the app. I did it. I went back again to start the app not like from scratch, just like to include other requirements. They needed to have more things like the checkboxes and getting multiple, selecting multiple items from the same app. As a beginner, that thing was just sounding like God. Where would this one come from and everything? But to be very honest, I did it and it worked. And I realized that practice actually makes perfect in Power Apps. It's better to just because as I was doing it, as I was doing this thing continuously, I was getting errors, solving the errors, finding solutions to the errors, getting more errors and everything. And something one of my bosses taught me or said to me one time was, it's better to make mistakes so that you will be able to learn from it. So that the next time you make that same mistake or someone else makes the same mistake, you'll be able to give them solution to the mistake because you've passed through this stage before. This was how you solved it and all that. So my first flow, it was when I created my first flow, it was a birthday request. So they wanted me to create a birthday request for the company. So instead of them doing it manually, sending requests to people to tell them that, okay, tomorrow is this person's birthday, we are going to have to send them happy birthday to this person and all that. We want to automate that process and all that. So that's how I started that was my first Power Automate. Okay, that one it wasn't that difficult because I got the first the first attempt I got it my first attempt actually made sense because I saw the solution on Google. So I just used the same process and everything, and it worked. So they were like, okay, if the whole birthday message can go, why don't you make a reminder too? So it was the reminder process that was like an issue because there was a part of the process where I had to put like a JSON code. So then that part gave me it was L doing especially in that part and all that. So it was one of my colleagues that was actually very good with Power Automate that helped me in that. So I had to ask him for help. He helped me and it worked. So till date, we get birthday reminders a day before your birthday, and on your birthday, you get a message. You get a birthday message from the team and all that. So I was actually very excited the first time it worked, and it's just actually I was really excited when it first worked. Okay, I've not really worked with the other Power Platform applications like BI and Power Virtual Agent, but I know just a little bit about them. My future plan is to just get into those other parts and be good in them too. So we're going to be moving on. Please, can you guys hear me? I know I've been talking a lot.
Yes, it's fine.
Yes.
Okay. So okay, my major challenges, the challenges I faced in creating this was the fact that we didn't have a lot of people who were experienced in the Power Platform in my company. So we only had let's say 2 to 3 people who had that experience. So and because with a company, you also have other things to do. You have client work, you have projects and other things. It wasn't easy to get to meet them and them having your time to do this thing. That was when I knew that okay, personal development is the best way because nobody has time for you. If you are going to be doing this thing, if there's no, even if someone knows every single thing, the person won't have time for you because he has other things of his own he's facing. He has other important things that he's doing. So that my major challenge was that because my boss actually didn't really have that much time to be taking me through everything step by step. You have to create time, and that creating time it will not be it won't be enough for you to grasp whatever is going to be telling you at that point. Then the second challenge was I also had other projects to work on, so I was not just working on Power Apps. Other requests are also coming in do some other things with the whole SharePoint thing and all that, because as a SharePoint administrator you also have to work. So Power Apps are just almost since we're not using it at that point, it was just something I had to do during my leisure time. And so I would say I had these are like the major issues I faced when I was learning this. Oh, I'm still learning actually. I'm still learning because I don't know everything. There's still some things that someone will do now and I will still not know how it works. But just with patience, everything works out. So the lessons I learned from learning Power Apps and all that was I should always ask for help. Okay, so I'm talking to the new guys here. If you are going to go into PowerPoint, Power Apps, sorry, or the Power Platform as a whole, the Power BI, Power Virtual Agents, Power Automate. Shit. Oh shit.
We can hear you, actually.
Okay, like this at this point.
Hello?
Shit.
We can hear you, Amara. Yeah, I think our connection is coming up a bit slow. So Amara's basically trying to tell all the newbies. I think one of the most important things in getting started on the Power Platform is seeking for help, right? Like we have the whole amazing Power Addicts community, and everyone is always willing and available to help, give you there's so many resources out there that is available to your disposal. So all you need to do is ask. So Amara is basically telling us that one of the things that helped her and one of her secrets is asking for help. So yes, Amara, you were telling us the importance of asking for help.
Please always ask for help. It's going to make your work easier. If you are going to do this by yourself without asking for help, you're going to spend like this in a particular project, and that's sad. Like it's really sad. Like just in a particular a particular point of your Power Apps. So if you ask for help, the person knows something. The person is like 5 minutes. So she says that if someone can do something for you in 5 minutes. No, if you try to do something by yourself in 15 minutes and you've not done it, and there's someone who can do it for you in 5 minutes, pay the person to do it for you, or let the person do it for you. So my second lesson was be willing to learn. If you don't have the zeal, if you don't want to learn, to be honest, to be very honest, no matter what you want to do, you won't get it, because you'll be like, I don't, this thing is stressing me. I don't want to do it again. You just drop it somewhere and you leave it, you forget it. And in the next few years, it's going to come back to haunt you, because you'll be like, why didn't I learn this thing at that point in time? Because there will come a time where you will now be like, this is a project. And maybe you let's say you change jobs now, and you needed this particular knowledge you'd have learned like in 5 years ago. You need it now in like 5 years later. If you're not, you feel bad if you don't have the zeal to learn and all that. So the next thing is practice self-development. Please read. You guys, you have to read, because Power Platform thing is not beans. It's not just going to jump into your labs and all that. You just really have to read, learn new things by yourself. Don't wait for anybody to tell you to learn this before you learn it. You just really have to learn it by yourself. And the last one is teach others. If you teach people, you get more knowledge in whatever you are learning. So it's good that if you know something and someone asks you for help, teach them so that you're not just only helping the person, you're also helping yourself. It will develop you and you will get better in whatever you put your hands. So in what I'm planning to do, like in the next few years, is I need to get more certifications. I need to dive into Power BI and Power Virtual Agents. I've not really done anything with these two Power Platform applications. So, and develop myself more, so I become like a better mentor to younger ladies, just like Foyne and the other ladies on this platform. So thank you guys for listening to me. You know, I was really fast and all that, but I really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Foyne.
Thanks, Amara.
Aw.
Thank you so much. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, the bit that resonated with me was when you said, when you shared words from your boss about it's better to make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. I think that's very important because everyone who starts their journey with a power platform, I feel that they will stumble because at first it's a learning curve, but then, you know, once you get familiar with it, you kind of rise above it, and it's such an awesome feeling when you're at that point when you're like, I know how to do this. What do you mean? What Canvas apps or flows and Power Automate or AI Builder, you know, all of that stuff. So thank you. I really enjoyed that session.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so our next speaker is all the way from Norway. Her name is Malin. I had the opportunity to meet Malin last year in her home country. So I met up with her in Oslo, and I'm really excited to hear from her. And I know that the story that she's about to share may be relatable as well. So Malin, over to you.
Thank you, Eliza. It seemed like a completely different world when we met a year ago. You were on your world tour and the world was actually open for everything, and it was good. Yes, so hello. As Eliza said, I am now all the way from Norway. I am actually right now exactly back where I originally come from, because I'm now in the Lofoten Islands. I live all the way down south in Oslo, but I'm now so lucky to be on my summer holidays here in Lofoten. And this is where I grew up. And as you can see, it's quite a beautiful country. It's been raining, so these are the probably 3 hours we've had of sunshine, but it's a really beautiful place growing up. This is me couple of years ago, one might say. I think it's my first year in school, so 5-6 years, and it was before all the technology, and I still remember getting cable TV. So it's a strange times to have grown up and getting accustomed to all the technology. But I also had a dream, because when I was young, I grew up in a grocery shop, because my great-grandfather, grandfather, and father all owned a grocery shop. So that was what I was going to be when I grew up. I was going to run my own grocery shop. And the first time I sat in the cashiers, I was 2 years old and sat on the lap of my grandfather. So it was, my entire life was just planned out for me. Then I realized it's a lot of work. You work late hours. You never get your holidays, and if you do get your holidays, they could be interrupted. And I found out that that might not be what I wanted, because I got my first computer. And it was basically, it was a black computer, and I inherited it from my stepfather, and it was amazing. I was I loved it. So I was on IRC and chatting, because by then I had moved from the northern parts of Norway, so I had a way to keep in contact with all of my friends that still lived up north. And a friend of mine, I was chatting with him the other day about IRC, and he said, yeah, well, you know, that's 20 years ago. Which kind of hurt, because it can't be 20 years ago, but I was about 14, and mathematically that is 20 years ago, but I still don't agree that it's 20 years ago. So times have changed. I downloaded music, shame on me, and I got all my fantasy novels like Tolkien, and got all my information about Tolkien and other writers that I loved. So it was a great source, and I was hooked. So what do I want to do when I studied? One would think that I would say that, okay, so I got a computer, I'm hooked, I love it, let's study something to do with computing. No, I went to something called the School of Commerce, I think it's called in English, and I studied marketing. And again, yes, it's a reason why I chose this specific picture of marketing, because I was through with my bachelor's degree in 2007. And the thing of online marketing was just about non-existing. So you had old school marketing, and when you were done, all the jobs, they said you had to have 5 years of experience and be just out of school, and you needed to have your own car and everything. And I had no chance of getting a job within marketing. But I had been working in a grocery shop. I had years of experience working. So I thought, it won't be that hard getting a job for me. But I had no chance of getting any marketing job. So what have I done? I've still worked in grocery stores. I have worked in sales. I have actually worked as a telemarketing. Like I phoned up people saying, hi, do you want to buy this? And I have stood in shopping malls selling credit cards. I'm not a salesperson, but I have tried it, so I can say that I have it done and dusted. I've worked a year or so in customer service, and I picked up the phone, I talked to people, and basically growing up in a grocery store, which is mainly customer service, made that a job that was made for me. But I was a temp, so I moved on to a membership coordinator for a Norwegian Association of Accountants. And this place I really loved. It was a great job, and I moved on to becoming an arrangement coordinator, because we have a lot of courses. And I then became a split arrangement coordinator and IT coordinator. So I did a bit of everything. Because why not? I wanted to try everything I could possibly get my hands on. And if it was IT, I worked on the website. We created our own course registration webpage, because Microsoft didn't have any at the time. Now you have Dynamics Marketing, which can do all of that, but back then there was nothing. So we just had to build it ourselves. And I loved it. The more I got into the IT part, the more I realized that I love this. It is absolutely amazing, and I understand the technology behind it all, and it just works for me. So then came my first Microsoft project. We were on Vinnorg, which is a small Norwegian CRM company. They are big in the membership department in Norway, so a lot of membership organizations has Vinnorg. And we're moving to Microsoft CRM at the time. And I was a super user. So when we started the project, I was on a 5-week holiday in Chile in South America. And I had by then worked there for almost 5 years. And I came back and the IT said, yeah, can't you just join us? Because you're going to get involved anyway. So just join us. And I sat down with them and I started saying, why are you doing this? No, it's because that's the way you work. That's not the way we work at all. So it was, I learned a lot from that project. I also learned a lot about how important it is to listen to the customer and to get the right people from the customer. Because if you only speak to management, sometimes they have no idea how people actually work or actually do the work that the organization does. And then I had the crazy question that kind of changed it all, because the lead consultant from the project, he came up to me and he was like, yeah, so I'm not really allowed to say this or ask this, and I was wondering what he was going to ask me. But then he said, have you ever considered becoming a consultant? And I hadn't. It had never been in my head that I might be an IT consultant, because I was still going back to marketing. I had just thrived in the company and I wanted to be there and to do more. But when he asked me, I thought, maybe that could be something. And I even applied for a job at the company he was in, but they didn't have any work at the time. And I thought, well, it wasn't meant to be, so we're moving on. And I didn't think any more of that. But then the strange thing happened. A couple of months later, a Microsoft partner recruiter called, and another tech recruiter called, and all within the same week. So I think they called a day apart, which was kind of crazy for me, because it was a different Microsoft partner than the one we had. And then there was the small Norwegian CRM company that we used to have. So I thought, well, I'll play with open cards with both of them. I'll go and interview with both of them and we'll just see. I have no idea, because one of the companies I know, the other company, I have no idea who they are. So a million things was going through my mind. And I thought, well, okay, if I'm meant to be a consultant, then this is a sure sign, because 2 recruiters calling within the same week and both of them gave me an offer. And I went I thought about this so much. I had no idea how I was going to choose between them. I had no experience in sitting with 2 different offers, and so my mind was going around, and by this was in 2014, and I chose to go with the Microsoft partner just because I thought that will give me the most chance in the future. Microsoft is a bit bigger than the small Norwegian company, and there are other partners that I could go to if this doesn't work. And today I'm very glad I took that choice. Because I was finding my path, and of course it was still actually called CRM back then, and I absolutely loved it. I started with Microsoft CRM 2011, and it was a great system. It was called CRM. I was heading places, and then my life kind of completely changed again. I got pregnant in 2016, which everyone that has had a kid knows that turns your life completely around. So this is me 38 weeks pregnant. I was massively huge, and by this point I had been throwing up every day for about 34 weeks. So I was dead sick the entire pregnancy, with extreme morning sickness, which of course lasts all the days, so stupid name. And it was, I was on sick leave from the middle of January until I had my kid in the start of September. And when I had him, I had a problem with my gallbladder. So I was on sick leave for another month. So I basically had 10 months at least where I was sick, or 11 months where I was completely sick. So all of 2016 was horrible. But it did get me this cute, cuddly little thing, the dog I had from before. But the kid completely changed everything. So I was away from work for about a year and a half. And a lot of things happen in the tech world for a year and a half. And I have never, ever, ever in my life felt so incredibly stupid as I was when I got back. Because I was coming back to my CRM department as a CRM consultant, and I got told that, oh yeah, no, it's not CRM anymore. CRM is gone. So it's now Dynamics 365. Okay, so it's a new name. I had to learn everything moving on, and it was not good. I told my manager I can't go out to a customer yet because I am too stupid for it now. I don't know the technology. I have no idea what's been going on. And luckily, my boss backed me up. And I got some months just going through, sitting in on project, learning everything again. And luckily I found my brain again. After a while, but it was a tough time getting back. And then I, by some crazy idea, started my road to MVP. Didn't know it was at the time. I was challenged to do one blog post every day for a month, and I did one blog post every working day for 6 months. And my kid was then a year and a half. So I was at work. I came home. I was with my kid until he went to bed. And then I started blogging again. I did some speaking arrangements, both in Norway and a couple abroad. And I started the group Women in Dynamics in Oslo. And I did a couple of podcasts. Fast forward to 1st of July 2019, I became an MVP. And that was has been completely amazing. But moving on, I've changed jobs twice since I started as consultant. And I think the most important thing is that you need to trust yourself. You know yourself best. You know what you want. You know what you are worth. And if you are uncertain about what you're going to ask as a pay, don't just be a woman and say a low number just to be certain to get the job. Ask a friend that is in the same position. Go find, there are some salary surveys for the industry that you could use. Be sure that you get what you are worth. Again, trust yourself. You are awesome and you bring something new to the company. Every time, no matter what company it is, you bring something new and exclusive to the company. So trust yourself. And the last time I changed my jobs, I became head of Dynamics 365 at a big Norwegian company. In January, I made an Excel spreadsheet because why not? I had 3 or 4 companies that I was talking with, and I ranked what was important to me. So I had everything that I was thinking about, and I ranked it by importance, and I scored each of the companies moving forward. And as you see, the gut feeling has a massive 12 index. So that was the most important thing for me. It was follow my gut feeling. Because most of the other things you can find other places as well, but the gut feeling, trust yourself, basically. Is it worth it? Yeah, it is. I absolutely love it. I think it's the best job I've ever had. I'm now in a company that I absolutely love. They are amazing. And I can tell you that the grass can be greener on the other side. It was for me. This is all of my contact information. I have my blog. Add me on LinkedIn and Twitter. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marlon. Wow, that's amazing.
Well done, Mark.
Thank you
Like
so
hearing your story was just wow. But especially when you shared about your pregnancy, I think all of us were like, you mentioned how you had, or what they call morning sickness, which I also don't like calling, for 34 weeks. That's just insane. My goodness.
That is basically from the time the embryo connects to the uterus. It was when I started getting sick, and I puked. My record for vomiting was 40 times in an hour. Wow. So I was when I was 12 weeks pregnant, I was hospitalized because I had lost so much weight, and
wow.
It was a hard time, but it was okay. He's a big, healthy, smart kid.
Yeah.
It was all good.
Well, thank you for sharing that personal side of you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I feel like this is a testament to saying women really can do anything. Just like the beard is up there, like that's, whew, girl. I admire you.
Thank you.
Like, through every step of the journey, like you just kept going. You did not turn down. You're like, I'm still gonna do this, and things just opened up for you. So, very, very inspiring story. Very inspiring. Thank you for sharing.
And I think that's the most important thing, that you just need to keep trusting yourself and grab every opportunity. that is thrown at you. And if you don't get any opportunities thrown at you, well, go find them.
Yeah.
Because they are there. You just need to be brave and go find them.
Yeah. We'll take questions at the end. So if you have any questions for Marlene at the end, we'll take the questions. Thank you so much. Okay, so up next we have Geetha. Eliza, do you want to introduce her? Properly?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So up next we have Geetha. I forgot to mention earlier as well that Marlon is a Microsoft MVP. Geetha is one as well. So Geetha is based in the States, and she is going to be talking to us next, which I'm really, really excited about because it's a topic on something that I quite love. So yeah, over to you, Geetha.
Well, thank you for having me. And Nolan, it was an inspiring story, and I think every bit of it is something that we all relate to, and I think it's going to kind of just resonate with us throughout the rest of this event as well. So for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to kind of try and take you guys on a fun ride with Power Automate, and kind of trying to focus it for beginners who are brand new to the technology, and also to get them interested in trying out things, new things, as technology emerges and evolves. Here's what to expect. I'm going to talk a little bit about my tech story, and then we'll have a quick intro to Power Automate to those who are completely new and are wanting to try something new. And then we do have a TechStylers Lucky Draw, which I'm going to try and use as the use case for learning Power Automate. So we're going to do that. So everybody would want to encourage everyone to participate in that, and we'll talk about how you can participate. And then in the end, we'll just walk through our demo and also take a look at how Power Automate is going to automate our Lucky Draw. All right. Okay. So I was born in India, spent the first few years in India, and then moved to Nigeria, spent my, I think I was there like up until my high school, and then moved back to India for my high school and undergrad, and then moved to the US for my post-grad. And then now I live with my family, my wonderful husband and my two beautiful kids, and we're based out of Dallas, Texas. And I am currently a collaboration and custom app dev consultant. And I work for Artist Consulting, which is a professional services consulting firm based out of Dallas. And I am also a power addict who's passionate about all things Office 365, Azure, and IoT. I am a business applications MVP. I frequently tweet about things that I learned through my job or even through my practical experience, or things that I try out on my free time. And I also blog about my findings. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm always happy to help the community out and people when you are looking to solve business problems. Now, just wanted to also share a couple of things that I learned while going through my technical journey. And one quote that I read somewhere that I kind of do believe in is that success is never owned, it's rented, and rent is due every day. And you pay the rent with your self-education, your upskilling, and then, of course, there are sacrifices. Life happens and things are not always smooth, but then you've got to hustle. You've got to hustle every single day, but also at the same time, take it in your own pace. And then these are the 4 Ds that I usually follow by: dream big, do the thing, don't limit yourself, and do what works for you. The earliest memory that I have of tech is when I was in my elementary school, and I would play video games like the Prince of Persia, Super Mario, and Contra with my brother. And both my parents were early adopters of tech. My dad was in the construction business and for his day job, but his passion for tech enabled him to open up a training center along with his friend to help coach students who want to learn programming languages like Java, C, and C++, and so on. So I would walk down the hallway of the training center whenever I visit my dad, and I would hear these fancy object-oriented programming terminology echoing through the walls, like abstraction, encapsulation, and polymorphism. But that was the first time I heard the term polymorphism. I was completely fascinated. And, I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to be a programmer, and then fast forward to my undergrad, Dan Brown made an entry in my life. Dan Brown is a famous author, and he wrote books like The Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. I was completely mesmerized with all the supercomputers that he talks about, and the things that it encodes and decrypts. And the character Sophie Niwu is someone that I literally consider like my altered personality. That's how I was. I dreamt of being a cryptologist. I dreamt about being in this room with these massive computers, and I am deciphering data which is of national importance and things like that. I mean, a girl can dream, right? There's no stopping, and even the sky isn't your limit. So it's always important to dream big. I mean, be curious, ask questions. I mean, even if they are like the most mundane questions or things that, and even if you feel like you're a noob asking for this question, that shouldn't stop you. Just because every question you get an answer for is taking you closer to your goal. And then I got my first job with Deutsche Bank, and guess what? My title was Application Security Officer. So I was completely fascinated by this job where I get to work with banking security applications in mainframe. But I was still hungry. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to expand my possibilities. And so I started looking up for courses that I can do where I can learn cryptology, where I can go, expand my knowledge and do much fun stuff. And so I applied. I found this school in Chicago, which had a program, a master's degree in computer information and network security. So it's called the SINS program. And so I moved to the US and I joined the course, and it was hard. It was a struggle. I started to get into the mode where I started feeling uncomfortable to do some of the courses. I started thinking about, what did I sign up to do? It was all fascinating and everything, but then this is hard. The courses were very difficult, and my classmates were people who had about like more than 10 years of experience in the field, and so I came with no exposure. But that didn't stop me. I kind of owned up to it. But that's the thing. You have to believe in yourself, and it's really important to feel comfortable to try to do things that are uncomfortable, because that's how you grow. And it didn't stop me either, because I also started exploring other options as well to expand my possibilities in my career, right? And then, long story short, I mean, there's a very handful of jobs that came for the role of being a cryptologist, and my visa had a restriction. I couldn't really. I mean, I was an Indian citizen, and it wasn't really, didn't work out with jobs. But I didn't limit myself. I continue to find other courses around information systems, and signed up to be an intern to manage the university's website. So that kind of started getting me into the programming world of doing C# and .NET and MVC apps and things like that. And I found that very helpful, because you have to think out of the box. Sometimes you kind of get tunnel vision. You're kind of narrowing, focusing towards one thing. But then when things break apart and don't go the way that you want, you've got to start thinking out of the box and start expanding your network. And I found it very helpful to start networking and finding those mentors and champions. It could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be your peer, it could be anyone. So that's something that I've learned along the way, is to not limit oneself, and in the process also help and promote others, and help others where you are confident enough to mentor or help people in their journeys as well. And then finally, I graduated and I got my first job was a contract position with Microsoft in the Dallas office, and that's when I got introduced to SharePoint. Back in the day, it was called MOS 2007, and that's how I hadn't worked with that any of the other. I mean, I was used to doing all the .NET applications and custom coding, but hadn't worked with SharePoint in general. Or I mean, at the time, Office 365 wasn't a thing. Everything was SharePoint server, but I enjoyed the journey. I asked questions. I didn't stop myself from moving forward. I learned a lot, and then I switched several jobs. Been a contractor, so it's worked with several industries, and then finally. This current place that I'm working with, this was my first professional consulting style role. So I've been with the company for over 6 years now. And here there was a customer that came over asking for a inventory management app, and we were looking at Power Apps. And so that was the first time I looked at Power Apps. This was probably in the late 2016 or early 2017. And that was my first time. And I was completely amazed with the rapid app development because I come from a pure technical background. And so I was able to build an app like within hours, which would take at least a couple of days or weeks to, build if you would do that with .NET or any other programming language. And so I think that was the starting point. I was very addicted to it. I started looking out for people in the community to learn more. I think Brian Dang's videos were probably the first ones that I looked at. And then, I followed all these, the people from the product team like John and Charles Sterling and people out there like April and Keith and Sumit and, everybody out there who had these amazing journeys that they'd gone through with the Power Platform, and then eventually, just getting involved in the community, started looking at what other people are doing, and then I spent a lot of time in the forums trying to help others because that's the best way to learn. Troubleshooting and trying to help someone out is also a good way for you to learn the tool set. And then eventually, yes, we got to know a couple of the community leaders, and then we had these bunch of power addicts who had the same passion for providing a platform to uplift others who have the same shared interests in the Power Platform, and those who are doing amazing stuff. And that's how the Power Addicts was born, and we've been continuing to do that. And it's amazing to see the little tribe that you end up building. I now have friends all over the world. I would have never thought that in 2020 or the past 2 years I would have had such an amazing journey, and I would know people who are always willing to help me break that glass ceiling when I want to try something new, and also the feeling of having this very giving community that you can always be open to asking questions. So that was my journey. I mean, I wanted to keep it short. So now enough about me. So we'll jump over to talking about Power Automate a little bit. So Power Automate is a SaaS service. It's a software as a service, which helps you work smarter by automating all those workflows or business processes or any repetitive processes that you see in your day-to-day life that you would like to connect with, be it your favorite apps or services or any kind of backend data stores. A couple of examples would be like, email notifications that you would want to send, or even data that you would be collecting, or even pushing data out to another system or a data source that you use on a day-to-day basis, file synchronization, and one of the most common use cases is approvals, right? I mean, we all go have these business logic and business processes that require approvals that go through different stages. These are some of the simple examples that you can actually use Power Automate for. And another thing to note is Power Automate is kind of the overarching technology, and what you really build, that workflow that you build, that automation piece is called Microsoft Flow. That is called Flow. Power Automate is kind of the whole overarching tech that forms an umbrella that has flow and UI flows and everything else that comes underneath it. Now let's take a quick look at what really makes up a flow. Now on the right is a simple flow that's just sending a push notification. The very first action on the top is called a trigger, and there are 3 types of triggers. So you can choose to have a manual trigger wherein you can choose when to trigger the flow, or you can schedule your flows, which would be a schedule trigger where you can set it to run a weekly, daily, or hourly basis. And then the third type of trigger is more of an automated trigger in the sense of having your flows trigger on an event in the cloud. Let's say there was a new item added to a SharePoint list and you want to do something about it or notify someone, then that would be the third type of trigger. And then the 2 actions below that you see, those little boxes, the building blocks of your flow, are called actions. And that's what really uses the data from the trigger. And you can process it and do what you would want consecutively. I mean, you can also have conditional logic like if, then, else, and you can also have parallel actions, and you can also call other flows. Now, how does this really work? I mean, we've looked at the building blocks that really make up your flow, but how does this really work? How to, looking at it under the guts. So connectors form an important foundation for your flow, and think of connectors as those intermediary layer that actually helps your flow to talk to the backend data source. So on the left here, you'll see that there's a connector for each of those data sources that you're used to working with, like this one for Outlook, this one for SharePoint, OneDrive, and this one for Twitter and Facebook, several of those connectors out there. And that's the connector that does the job of taking the input from you and then passing it on to the data source behind the scenes. And then the data source knows what it needs to do. There are over about 350 connectors available today, and you will find that there are standard connectors and some are premiums. And those connectors, you will see a green box at the bottom that says premium. That's your indication that there's a pricing to it. And then, of course, you can build custom connectors. So, for example, if you have a legacy system or you have a SQL server that you would want to use to tap into for consuming data, then you can do that by building a custom connector, or if you have an API that you're going to build, then you can create a custom connector based off of that API, or you can even create a data gateway which would help you connect to your on-premise systems. There are a couple of ways for you to get started, because and now that we've kind of had a good idea of how Power Automate really works, the best way that I've learned to get started is to make use of templates. There are several hundreds of templates that are pre-made for you already. All you have to do is search for a keyword or what you're trying to do. For example, let's say you want to start an approval when a SharePoint item is added. You can go search for SharePoint approvals, and it will bring up templates that match your search term. And you will find a template that's already built for you. Like, for example, here we have a template that already does the job of picking up an item that was created and then starting an approval process. And then it makes it easy because you just pick the template, and it also gives you a way to learn from looking at the template of how it was built. And then all you have to do is configure it and then extend it based on your business needs. And then there's also the pro dev version of it, where you can extend it to connect to any of your logic apps or functions, or even any custom APIs that you already have in your existing legacy systems. So these are some of the ways that you can get started. And we also have a couple of additional resources out listed there, and I will paste them in the chat window for you guys. There are the docs that Microsoft put out, which has a really great learning path, a guided learning where you can pick items or courses or tutorials that you would want to learn based on your skill set. And then, of course, there's the community, the Flow community forum, or even the Power Apps community forum. The entire Power Platform community forum is pretty active. Everybody is very giving, and you post a question, and you're sure to find an answer. Like the next couple of hours, there's always someone willing to help. And then, of course, we have the Power Addicts sessions that happen every first Tuesday of the month. So where we have a couple of guests who come in and share what amazing stuff that they've been working on. So there's a link to that where you can stay up to date on when's the next one happening. And then the virtual events hub is another great place because it kind of shows you a calendar with every Power Platform event that's happening around. So that's a great place to go check on and see if there are events that interest you and you can attend them. Okay, so now we're ready for a demo. So I wanted to just quickly walk you through what this process is going to look like. So, we talked about having this lucky draw that we're going to use to automate using Power Automate. So I am going to be sharing a forms link, and I would encourage all of you to open up the link. And there are about 3 questions in there that you would want to answer. And then here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a flow that for every submission, it's going to pick up the response and store it in SharePoint. And at the same time, it's going to tweet it with a nice little graphic with what you've responded and then with your name on it. And then finally, we're going to use another flow to go through the submissions and pick our lucky draw winner. Does that sound fun? I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see what you guys type in. All right. So here are 2 simple rules. So I will paste this link in the chat for you guys, and just 2 steps. Click on the link and provide your name or your Twitter handle, and then any favorite hashtag or quote that you've learned in the current session, or something that you go by, or something that you've learned from someone or you've read somewhere. Just keep it less than 10 words so we can kind of just space it well within the preview of the image. And also be sure to add who this quote was by, and we'll see how it works. And the lucky draw, I thought, we're all going through unprecedented times, and so it would make me happy to make your day with an e-gift or a cup of coffee on me. So once we have a lucky draw winner, I will be sure to collect your email, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly paste the link for the draw here. Let me paste it. My Teams is freezing. Give me a minute. So I pasted it. I can't see the chat. Can anyone confirm if you actually see the link in the chat?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know what's happening, but it's just freezing up. But you guys still see my screen, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so that's the link there. So click on it, and then so now right here, I have the form here. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give in my Twitter handle, and then I'm going to come up with something simple. I'm going to say TechStylers hashtag our trailblazers. And then I'm going to say, this is by me. This is my own quote. So I'm going to go ahead and submit it. So just make sure that you have that, short and sweet, and then go ahead and submit it. And then I'm going to hope the demo gods are really happy with me today. And I see the tweet. Let's give it. Ooh, look at that. See, we have someone, is that AMAC and cheese? Yeah. And so, yep, so that's what Power Automate did. So you've made a submission. I have a flow that actually creates this graphic and overlays the text on it. And then this is the quote that, she added, and she said it's her own quote. So we said that works. And so we're going to, keep refreshing it. We'll probably see some more. And I'm going to give you enough time to, put in your submissions so we can have our lucky draw in the end. And while you're submitting, we'll also go ahead and take a look at the actual flow and how things actually work. And so here's another one. Oh, that's awesome. Not all who wander are lost. That's very true. I love that. All right, so while we wait on that, let's take a look at the flow that actually does the job of making this image and also tweeting about it. So here's my flow, and the very first action we talked about is a trigger, and so this is a trigger that happens every time a new response is submitted, and then those responses, even if it's a single response, they are returned in the form of a array. So we're going to get those response details from the quote, and I'm passing in the ID that I get from the output of the form submission. And right up next, what I'm doing is actually creating an item in my SharePoint list, and I have a SharePoint list for the text stylers, and here's what I'm doing. So let's go take a look. I'm going to open up the yeah, so here's the list, and I can see, wow, look at that. I'm going to refresh it, and so we can see, ooh, we've got quite a lot of entries in here. Amazing. Yeah, I love all the quotes that you've got in here. Awesome. Yep. Oh, I love that, Noah. Everything is within your power, and your power is within you. Yep. Kind of like the Inception. The power in you, and you're in the power. All right, so let's go back to our flow. So that's where our entries are getting submitted as you guys are submitting. And then, so go ahead and get your entries in. And then once we're done with our walkthrough, we're going to go do our lucky draw. And we'll hope that the demo gods are happy and that flow works fine as well. So if you notice here, I have a naming convention going on. I mean, this is just some things that are good practices to make sure that it also helps for manageability in the end. And I also tend to group my actions into scope. So this is a scope action. I call them my flow action sets, because these are sets of actions that are grouped in a logical manner. I mean, actions that actually make sense to be grouped together. So here are the 3 steps, and if I have to make a change or if I have to maintain it, and especially when your flow grows out of your hand and it becomes a massive big flow, it just makes it easy for you to focus on a subset of those actions that you really want to make a change. And so here's a bunch of things that are happening now. This flow right here actually uses an Azure function. So I have an Azure function that actually tweets the image with the actual quote that you did, and then it also grabs all the response information and then tweets it. The reason we're using an Azure function is because there is a Twitter connector, and that Twitter connector doesn't really support @mentions. So for this example, I'm using an Azure function, but for the lucky draw that we're going to tweet, we'll be using a regular, out-of-the-box standard Twitter connector. Now, because we're using an Azure function, we've got to make sure that the image is available in a storage that the function can access. And so there's a lot going on here. You probably don't need to do all of this, but this is also a way that we generate our Power Addicts Hangout images as well. We just provide the Twitter handles, and that's how we generate it. And thanks to Vivek, that API guy, I was originally looking at UI flows to do these sort of things, but then he got me started on thinking the SVG route for dynamic images. And so here's what we're doing. So this is the link to the function that I created. That's my function app. And then I'm pasting in the text that I want to show up on the tweet. So here's what we were looking at in the tweet. This pulled the name from the response, and then it actually has this additional text of, with the hashtags. And then here I am generating an SVG on the fly. So it's a dynamic SVG generation. So that's what we're doing. So we're plugging in the text that we want to overlay on the image. And then I have a base image. I picked up the TechStylers base image for today's event, and I converted it into a base 64 format. And so that's what's in that action right there. So it's a pretty long text of base 64 encoded content. And then finally, I'm going to try and collapse this because it's taking a while to load. Now, here's the thing. This is our final SVG version. So here's what we're doing. So we have an SVG created, and I'm plugging in the output of the other compose actions that I have, where that I'm using as a temporary placeholder for my dynamic text. Now, compose actions are a great way for any static content that you would want to use. So you can use compose in replacement of variables if the content that you're going to be storing in the compose action is static and is something that wouldn't change with time. But if you have things that need to be changed, then you would go with a variable action. And compose is also more performant. Now, the next step is, now we've had our dynamic content generated, but now we actually need the file, the actual SVG file. So I'm using the OneDrive connector to create an SVG file with the output of this action that had my SVG content. And then what I'm doing is converting it into a JPEG so that Twitter can actually post that as media. And then here we have our action. What I'm doing is actually
inside
posting the file to a storage blob container, because you probably wouldn't need to do all of this if you're using the standard connector. You could just provide the file content from your OneDrive file and do it. But because I'm using an Azure function, I'm having to drop it into a blob storage that my function has access to. And then so we're creating that, and I'm grabbing the blob name, and then this is our final step. This is just an example to show you how you can tap into any existing APIs or function apps when you cannot do things that are available out of the box. So you can extend it, and here I'm using an HTTP connector, and I'm passing in. This is all the function app needs. It just needs the text, and then I just need to pass in the URL. Which is the actual file image from the blob, and then it should tweet it. So this is how our actual tweet worked. And so I'm going to go back and check and see what else we have here. Awesome. Yeah, I know my function is running hot. We see several of those tweets out there. I'm going to make sure that I actually see them all. And then let's go. Yeah, there we go. We see a bunch of them. Pretty neat. All right, so let's get to our actual list here. So let me see how many items we've got. I mean, you've got some more time to get in your entries if you haven't. But our last step here is to go through our flow that's actually going to do the random draw. So that's our last bit here. And here is the TechStylers lucky draw flow. And you can see that I have a manual trigger because I'm going to kick it off manually. And then the very first step here is to get the responses from the form. So from the SharePoint side, sorry. So I'm going to the side, pulling my responses from the list where all the responses have been stored. And then here's where the actual work is happening. Here's where we're randomly picking a response. So here I have a comment added just to make it visible enough for you to see what the actual expression that's been placed in the inputs here. So I'm getting the response, the output from the action, from the prior action. And then what I'm doing is generating a random number based on the index and the count of the number of responses that we get. Here's where things can get a little mushy if you're new to Flow and you're trying to ramp up on expressions, especially if you have to work with parsing and manipulating massive JSON and things like that. That's when it kind of starts hitting the low code to full code category. But there are amazing tutorials out there. There are community leaders who have posts, and even on the forums, you're sure if you go search your question or your problem, or if you post a question, I'm sure you will find an example that already has a solution for you. And that's a great way to learn. And remember, it's just more of just getting a hang of it. And then, things can get a little intimidating in the beginning. But then once you get a hang of it and you know what Flow expects and how it works, you should be fine. So that's how we're getting a random item. And then finally, what I'm doing is just grabbing the name of the person who submitted it. So I have a name, and then I have an image that I have, which with the congratulations note on it in my OneDrive. So I'm going to grab that image, and here is the standard connector, which you can use to post a tweet. This one is not using an Azure function. This is just using a simple action to post a tweet, and here's what we're going to be posting. So we're just going to post a text saying congratulations with the name of the person that made the submission or who ended up being in the lucky draw, and then thanks for being awesome. All right, so we ready to run the draw now? Did everybody get a chance to make a submission? I'm just looking at the chat to see if anybody's still submitting.
I think we're ready.
Okay, all right, let's do this. I'm excited to see who's going to get it now. All right, I'm going to go and I'm going to manually run this, and I am fingers crossed that this flow will work. Let's go run this. All right, I am going to wait. Well, it did run. Yay. So ran. Let's see. It should have tweeted. I'm going to wait to look for the tweet. I'm sure we have a tweet. Yeah, Flora, congratulations. So Flora, if you're in the chat, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or you can share your email ID here, and I will be happy to follow up with you. And I am excited to be part of making your day with a cup of coffee or an e-gift on me. Yes, so it worked. I hope this was helpful, and I really hope that this motivates and encourages everyone to go give these tool sets a shot and not be intimidated by how things evolve and change. And I hope my story was helpful to also show how you could start somewhere, but you end up being somewhere, but it was all worth it in the end, at the end of it.
Yes. I mean, this was really, really, really exciting. Thank you so much.
No worries. Happy to. I've been equally excited to be part of it, and I'm excited to see that everybody. I mean, I'm just looking at the chat, and it seems like people have been waiting to see who's winning it. Yep. But congrats, Flora. Be sure to share your email, Flora, with me, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you would want to share it there.
Thanks, Geetha. I learned a lot as well. I was just like, ooh. So I also did a random winner flow and Power Automate for my talk in Sydney earlier this year. So that was cool. I've used Flow as well to do that. It just makes it a lot easier. But thank you. I also didn't know that you spent time in Nigeria, so everyone in the chat was like, wow, cool.
Oh, I need to catch up on that. Yes, so I lived in Ikorodu and went to school at Ilupeju. I enjoyed my time over there. I love the people there. I have a few friends from there, and it's been I think that's my best memory because I was there during the prime time of my life. Up until my growing up there. So I haven't had a chance to go back, and I'm really hoping that I can go back because I've been wanting to take my family there. I want to take them through the streets that I've lived in, the schools that I've gone to, the streets that I've played at, and things like that. I hope to be there sometime.
Well, you have to let Foyen and the others know so that they can show you around part of the community.
Yes. We look forward to having you.
I would be so happy to.
Well, thanks for your time, Geetha. All right, so up next we have the beautiful Manuela presenting. So if for those of you who don't know Manuela, she is based in the UK, and if you have heard anything about the Power Platform Center of Excellence Kit, this is the woman behind it. She works with an amazing team, and I'm so happy that she's going to be presenting today. So over to you, Manuela.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'll share my screen as well. 1 second. So yeah, I'm Manuela. Thank you so much for having me. Like the stories, especially your journeys, really resonated with me, and I think some of that you will see in the slides that it will feel like I put them together just now because of like some of the quotes that you said are in my slides as well. But I actually prepared them yesterday. Like usually when I talk about like the Center of Excellence or the administration of the platform. But today I want to share lessons that I learned from the Power Platform community and their life lessons, not technical lessons. So I hope that some of that will inspire you to go on that journey as well, or to kind of accelerate your journey if you're already on it. But I'm going to start like a few years ago. I wanted to be a gardener, and I guess for many people, their childhood dreams, like they come and go, but I actually wanted to be a gardener from the age of 4 to like 16. It was really like ingrained in me that that's what I wanted to become, and I started practicing like really early on. In business college, I attended a voluntary IT course. It was like an hour a week. We learned how to use Excel, a little bit of macros. We started with like front page, doing a little bit of HTML, but it was all very like, yeah, just, I guess a lot of it was just playing around. And then towards the end of the year, our teacher taught us Visual Basic programming. And he said, I just wanted to show you that that this is what IT could be like. I don't expect you to understand any of it. Programming is really, really hard. But actually, like as soon as I started with it, it really clicked, and I got it, and I got it into my head that I was actually going to change my career path from becoming a gardener to studying computer science, which was a little bit of a jump. I went from doing a voluntary IT course where I learned maybe 5 to 10 lines of Visual Basic to starting a master's degree in engineering and computer science. And it was hard. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, what did I get myself into? The semester started in September, and by Christmas I was like ready to give up. I had no idea, like I didn't know anyone there, so I left my hometown and moved to campus actually to study there. We had about like 40 hours of lessons each week, and then homework on top of that, and none of it really made sense to me. And I was surrounded by people who had instead of having gone to business college, had gone to like a technical college, so they all had a little bit more background in math and like a technical understanding than I had. So I was at home for Christmas break, and I sat down with my mom, and I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. This is way harder than I thought it was. And she was like, you know what, like if you finish now, there's nothing else you could be doing. If you wanted to like start another degree, you'd have to wait until next September anyway for a new degree to start. Like go back after Christmas and at least like finish your first year and then decide what you want to do. I went on and actually I finished much more than my first year. I graduated with distinction. And there's a few things that changed, so that brings me to kind of the first lessons that I learned, and they weren't like part of the Power Platform, but I think those lessons, they still resonate with me, and they still, like in my day-to-day life, they're still really valuable for me. And the first lesson was ask for help, and I know a few of you have mentioned that as well. At business college and throughout my learning life, learning came easy to me. I could figure everything out on my own, and I kind of took a wrongful pride in that almost. So I really had to learn to ask for help. I had to build a support network of people that I could ask for help, and that explain things to me. So I had to kind of step off my high horse and ask for help, and that was a really valuable lesson for me. But I also put in the hours. I studied, I learned, I researched. And I really started kind of embracing the fact that, if you want to achieve something, you really have to learn for it, and you have to sometimes find your own resources and learn it in a way that makes sense to you, and find your own kind of learning style as well. And then I started setting myself goals, and Sometimes they were like, especially in the first year, they were really like short-term goals, like understanding recursion or completing a very specific exercise. But through kind of setting myself goals and achieving them, I started believing in myself and believing that I can do it. After I graduated, I got a job as a software engineer, and I moved to become a senior engineer, and then started managing a team of software engineers at my last company, where I then became the technical lead for Office 365 rollout. I previously worked a little bit with SharePoint, but mostly I was a coder. Through the rollout of Office 365, I discovered Power Apps and Power Automate. At first, it was just kind of like in a way of getting familiar with the whole bench of tools that we got as part of Office 365. I started playing with those tools, and I started discovering that they would be useful in my day-to-day life, where as a developer, I could use these tools to get to solutions faster, build systems faster. But very early on, I kind of realized that that's not the full purpose of those tools. Actually, like, they would be perfect in the hands of subject matter experts who are close to the business problem that they want to solve, and rather than them coming to me as a dev and me building the solution for them and then giving it back to them half a year later, or something like that. It would be much better for them to make use of the tools. So I kind of stepped out of my my comfort zone and started teaching internal training courses. I ran, you might be familiar with the screenshot up there, I ran internal app in a day events, internal Power Automate in a day events. I designed my own training course to use forms and flow in a day, because some of the people that I interacted with, they were really apprehensive, and they said, no, I can't do it. This flow thing, I know you say it is easy, but actually I don't think it is. So I designed a course where they would just use forms. So if they had a paper form, they could design it with Microsoft Forms, and then they used Flow to automate sending emails or putting it into a data source, etc. And I found it really successful, and I thrived on seeing those people successful. But for me, it was really stepping out of that comfort zone of being behind my computer. And for those of you who know me in person, know that I'm quite an introvert person, and I find it very difficult to start conversations and have small talk with people. So it was a really interesting kind of journey for me to go from sitting behind my computer to teaching other people how to use tech. And it was definitely a skill set that I didn't have before. I had never before been a trainer, so I kind of learned as I went. And if you're looking to do something like that in your company, I would encourage you to start small, start with a group of people that you know and that will provide constructive feedback as well. And don't do a training for 100 people, start with 10. I kind of had progressed my career to obviously managing a team and becoming a technical lead. But I think despite believing in myself, I still felt that it was very much down to luck, where it was almost oh yeah, they didn't have another choice. My manager left, so obviously they had to promote me to that role, or things like that. So the kind of the penny dropped much later in my career, actually, around that. It's not luck, you work for it, you deserve what you're getting. Anyway. The following kind of the success I had in my company with the public forum, I was given the opportunity to attend Ignite 2018, and I can't believe that's it's been 2 years, almost 2 years now. So I attended a session by Ryan, and I posted something on LinkedIn about it. And I guess because I tagged it with Power Apps, someone called Samir, who may or may not be on the call today, reached out and said, I'm at the Power Apps booth, come and chat to us. I showed up there, and I must have circled the booth about 5 to 10 times before I was brave enough to go up and speak to someone. And I was like, I'm looking for Samir, and someone found me Samir. I think it was Pratap, actually. And I had my tablet with me, and I was like, I don't think I'm doing anything exciting, but here's some of the Power Apps I built. And because I was, I guess because of my role, I was like already looking after people who were building Power Apps. So I had built some dashboards that showed me information about how they were using the technology, how many makers we had in the company. And those back then were the like very early days of the COE starter kit before it was even called anything like that. So that's really where my journey with the Power Platform took off. So I met Summit and Keith and Eric, some other champions at the booth there, and I started connecting with them and started talking to them. And I'd been a dev for a longer time than I want to admit, but I'd never really been part of a community. So I was a .NET dev, I was a SharePoint dev, and no doubt those have like thriving communities as well, but I never really felt part of those communities. It was only when I started working with the Power Platform that I felt like this is where I kind of belong. And I think the part that was really like different for me with the Power Platform community to those other kind of technical communities is that the people that are in it are there to lift you up, and they want to see you succeed. They're not just there to help you, but they're there to provide you with opportunities. So I started speaking at events, and I got these opportunities because much more senior speakers, MVPs reached out and said, hey, I think you've got a story to tell. Do you want to join me on stage, or do you want to speak at our user group? Or I spoke at the UG Summit in Amsterdam, and it was Sandy who said, you know what, people love a customer story. Why don't you just tell your customer story and tell the things that you have done in your company? And I was quite surprised with like how much people loved the customer story because the room was kind of bursting full. I started hosting like roundtables with Keith and Lee, and we met other people who were like passionate about the technology, and I started embracing those new skills. So the next lessons that I learned was find your crowd. So like the Power Platform community feels like a home to me. I fit in, and I fit in with the people that surround me. Find your corner might not be the right way of putting it, but like back 2 years ago, everyone was talking about how to build applications. There weren't a lot of people who were talking about governance and administration, but it was something that I felt really strongly and passionately about. So I kind of stuck with my gut feeling, with my instinct, and I continued to learn how to administer the platform or come up with solutions on how to nurture makers in your in the company, whilst at the same time supporting them. And now it's kind of the hot topic that everyone talks about. And so I'm really glad that I've stuck with my gut. And then the lesson as part of that is be comfortable in your uniqueness. Like you bring something to the table. Everyone brings something to the table, and even if you feel kind of like unique about it, you have a story to tell, definitely independent of where you are in your journey. So if you're only just starting out, that is a valuable lesson for other people who are also just starting out. So yeah, definitely be comfortable in the path of your journey as well, not just the end goal. Something that I was always really uncomfortable with was public speaking, to the point where, like, before the first time I spoke on stage, I was actually throwing up with how nervous I was. But I also felt like it was a skill that I definitely wanted to learn, that I wanted to become better at. So something that really benefited me was finding a buddy, someone that came on stage with me, someone that like I knew that they would have my back. If I stumbled over my words, I knew that they would step in and be able to continue the talk without me. And sometimes those buddies come in the form of Darth Vader, but they will always have your back. So like no doubt there'll be things that you want to do but aren't very confident in doing. And the advice that I would have is find a buddy, find someone that does it with you. Last September I accepted a role at Microsoft, and this is my team at the moment. Also, we've grown actually since then, but like this was when I joined. It was completely out of my comfort zone. went from being a customer to now working with other customers, to being in a role where customer success is at the forefront of my mind, and to be like a customer advisor. I very often turn around and think, how did I end up like getting here? But like just kind of believing in myself and believing that no, it's not luck. You know, I applied for the job and someone felt strongly enough to give me that role. It's an important part of that journey is accepting your success, not thinking that it's luck that got you where you are, knowing that it's the work that you've put in, the hours that you've put in, and the knowledge that you have that got you to where you are. Embrace your imposter syndrome. It's something that I bring to work every day. In fact, last week, the Outlook server crashed and told me that my email address didn't exist. And I was like, oh no, they're onto me. Someone's deleted my account. But no, like it's something that I think makes me stronger, because it makes me work harder for the things that I want. And it's not something that I guess like my surroundings have any influence on. It's something that's like lives deep within me. But it encourages me to put myself out of my comfort zone and definitely aim for the stars like I did. I think from the time I started my computer science degree, I worked with Microsoft technologies. .NET 1.0 was the first thing I developed on. And I know back at university, one of my colleagues got an internship at Microsoft in Seattle back in like 2004. And I was like, wow, like that's amazing to work for a company like Microsoft. I'll never achieve that. But I kind of, I guess, aim for the stars, and I am definitely my dream role now. Some further fun lessons is find people that lift you up, and not just those that encourage you, but those that provide you with constructive feedback because they want to see you succeed and they want to see you get better. So one of the people that that really lifts me up is Keith, who always took the time to attend my sessions when I did public speaking, and afterwards provided feedback on what I could do better, and it's really improved my confidence on stage, but also how I present. If you have the opportunity, lift others up, tell the story of others, showcase other people's work, recognize them, ask them to come on stage with you and speak with you if you're a confident speaker. Tell the story of other people to make them successful as well. Do it often and build your brand. So I deliver admin and a day training quite frequently. I talk about administration and governance of the Power Platform a lot, and I know the topic so much now that I'm much more confident talking about it than when I talk about something that I don't know. And it's just that repetitive action of talking about it so much has given me the confidence to deliver it better now. So definitely something that's really important for me is doing it often, and don't let any stereotypes hold you back. I very often deliver admin identity to a room full of men, but it doesn't stop me from feeling confident about my knowledge anymore, whereas maybe a few years back in my career it would have. And do it with heart. It's actually one of the core values of the group that I'm in at Microsoft. And bring your heart to everything that you do. Don't do it because someone else told you to go on stage and speak, or because it's the cool thing to do. Do it because you believe in it and because you care about it. And only by doing it with heart, you will make like friends for life. And you will succeed by kind of doing it with heart. I guess in a very roundabout way, it turns out that I became a gardener after all, because what plants need is they need food and water. So they in a way that's like training for us. They need sunshine, that's like the encouragement, and they need soil and a pot to grow in. So they need opportunities. So I feel like I became a gardener of myself by kind of growing myself and growing my career. And I hope to continue to kind of obviously do that, but also have kind of opportunities to lift others up as well. And the last thing I want to do is read out a poem by Rupi Kaur, who's one of my favorite writers. There are mountains growing beneath our feet that cannot be contained. All we've endured has prepared us for this. Bring your hammers and fists. We have glass ceilings to shatter. Thank you. I couldn't see if the chat window whilst I was presenting. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. And like, yes, a lot of the stories that you shared earlier really resonated with me.
That was amazing. Thanks, Manuela. I really loved how you first spoke about, this is what you wanted to be when you grow up, and then you just tied it all in the end with that awesome analogy. I know that there's other people in the chat that agree as well. And yeah, Keith is here. Samir is still here, by the way, and Alison has joined as well. Thanks, guys, for joining, by the way, and showing your support. Floyd, over to you to introduce our final speaker for today's July meetup of TechStylers.
Thank you, Eliza. Thank you, Manuela. It was a very beautiful presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for tying it all up at the end. Yes, our next speaker is Confidence. Confidence she's a good friend. We've been friends for over the years, say close to 5-6 years now, and she's been doing real amazing work in the security space. Like, she does a lot of work around apologies. So she's been doing amazing work around sensitizing a lot of people, especially even those that are not educated, around keeping safe, how to recognize a spam mail, how to know how original, all these emails are, basically around security. So she's now going to share a bit of her story, and she was celebrated as one of the top 50 women, which we're very excited about. She's going to share her story of how she got started and how she got to it. Confidence.
Hello, ladies. Good evening, my time. I'm bringing you excitement and energy from Nigeria. Thank you so much, Foyi, for that very warm introduction. I've listened to the other ladies speak, and there's so much about what you've said that resonates with me. And I can't wait to have Geetha, join you on the tour of Ikorodu. And I really liked Manuela's presentation. Manuela, I also wanted to be a medical doctor. So I understand your gardener dreams. And I listened also to, I think Sarah, I can't remember it so well, but I enjoyed every other presentation. And I just want to share about my journey from my heart. I don't have slides, so we'll just make do with just listening to my maybe great enough voice. So I started out wanting to be a medical doctor, like I mentioned, and I ended up just randomly bumping into computing. And then at the time, I really fell in love with programming, and I started learning to program. I learned how to program in C and C#, and did a lot of programming work during my first degree. Went on to do a master's in IT management. And it was during my master's that I got great exposure to cybersecurity. It literally started off as just a challenge. Like, I really wanted something that wasn't, that was an elective, that was an optional module, but I was really going to challenge me because I was getting bored with my whole degree, because everything was like business as usual for my first degree. So I wanted something that's going to keep me on my toes. Generally, I'm sure you can tell that I have so much energy. So my adrenaline is literally, I breathe in challenges. Like, if it's not challenging, you'll find me there, I'll get bored. So I literally needed to feed that. And I was finding that everything was business as usual for my first degree. So And then I looked for this elective and I found something that was dreaded. So everyone was like, you know what, don't go there, don't go there. And the elective was cryptography. And that's why I really, really, really vibed with Geetha. Who was doing something around that space. Cryptography was that module that everyone dreaded. You know what, don't go there. It's just engineering students. In fact, there are no ladies in that class, you know. But I was like, okay, there are no ladies. I want to be there then. You know, what's in that class? I want to know what's there. And I went, of course, with the module. And I would not lie to you. That's one of the modules I had, one of the few modules I had a C in. So it was one of my least performing modules, but I enjoyed it, and it was an adventure, and for me that was more important, and it pulled me in. I wanted to learn more. I made that particular lecturer my supervisor for my MSc dissertation, so we had more FaceTime. And in that FaceTime, I began to ask questions, I began to learn more, I began to get exposed to the future. We currently know now that cybersecurity is a top 5 concern for any business owner across the world. By every single survey that has been done, from the World Economic Forum to just about any global platform that has tried to do this kind of survey. So then it wasn't such a big issue. And, you know, this FaceTime with this particular mentor helped me understand, okay, if this is interesting for you, you know, go on and pursue it. And then I got that support. So it's very, very important, or rather, I have learned that, you know, it's okay not to exactly know what you want to do at the start of your career. I don't know who is at that stage right now on this in this event. But it's okay not to exactly figure out everything about where you want to be. But most importantly, find something that keeps you so excited that maybe you forget to do the things you normally would like to do. I tell people that if something can keep me from sleeping or something can keep me from eating, then that thing is so important to me. So I found that cybersecurity and learning about cybersecurity was enough to make me forget that I had eaten. I had to be intentional about remembering, okay, I haven't had lunch and I need to have lunch. You know, I was so hungry for knowledge, and I was so hungry for information around this particular niche area. So that is a key learning for me. So it's totally fine if at the beginning of your career you're not sure if this is the direction you want to go and you're trying out a couple of things. That's the adventure stage, and it's totally okay. I know I'm just about the only person who is not really going to speak to you about Microsoft and the platforms. I'm the Power Platform, but yeah, I'm just going to share my journey. So that's a key learning I took away from my experience. I take away from my story. It's very important that you just try out things and find what keeps you very, very motivated, that you stay glued to it. I also find that it's very important to find an area in the tech space and develop yourself specifically in that area. So when you find that place that keeps you excited, drill down, double down on it. I find that when people double down, they become so good at what they do that they're bringing so much more value than if they were generalists. Again, this is my opinion. So if you find that, for example, developing, being a developer is something that keeps you very excited, then go ahead, double down, get a lot of learning, upskill, reskill, build new tricks, you know, everything around getting to be the best in that area. I believe that fast tracks your growth. If you're able to take on a lot more things and still juggle in and become a specialist at it, it's fine. But in my experience, I find that when people pick an area where they're sleeping and eating and drinking that thing, the speed at which you're able to reach thought leadership and you're able to become a person of so much more value is expedited, or that time is made very short. So I from my own experience, I believe that choosing an area of specialty really fast tracks growth. I also believe in the growth gang. So what's a growth gang? A growth gang is like having people within your sphere of influence that, you know, motivate you or push you to grow. Now, we're always in tech, always sort of caught in that place where you want to pick people who are doing what you're doing. So for example, it's great to have these communities where you're mingling with people in Power Labs, for example, and you're learning more about Power Apps, I mean to say. But then I would say have a mix. One of the greatest things that's happening in the world today is people are learning to work in teams even more. So you need to collaborate more with other people. You need to be able to find would I say interact with people that are from other works of life, and that's why a growth gang that is sort of mixed. So while you have people that are passionate with you about what you're passionate about, it's important to also have people in your growth gang that are in other industries. So for example, have a person in your growth gang that is in the sales department, for example. That person is going to somehow help you out with things around pitching even your ideas or your apps that you develop if you're a developer. Because that might not come to you naturally, but rolling with that person in your growth gang can sort of help you gain that skill. So have a mix of industries in your growth gang. That's what my journey has also really taught me. My journey has also taught me to be intentional about serving people. When you set out to help people, I've heard that resonate with a lot of people in other ways, and I'm very happy to hear that. When you set out to serve people, leadership will come naturally to you. Like you will take up leadership positions, not because leadership will not come to you because you're maybe the biggest person in the room. It will come to you because you're the one with the heart to serve, because that's what leadership is. So set out to serve people, and when you serve people, your value, you serve people, and of course your value has to be great for people to find that service valuable in the first place. So in the end, your value shows up as a person when you set out to serve people. It might be serving people in, what you found doesn't exactly work for them now. So for example, if you're finding that people in your community, like Foyin found out that people, she could do certain things that people in her community couldn't do, and then she set out to say, oh, you know what, let me help them be able to do these things. It's not part of my day job, I'm not getting paid for this, but let me help these people also know these things that I'm able to do very easily. I find that service is a very strong way to lead, and it's also a strong path to shoring up your value as a person. And then I also related to myself. I found out that social engineering became the number one threat in Nigeria. So social engineering, like we know it, is the way people get to be manipulated or tricked into giving off confidential information. I think across the world is the same thing. But in Nigeria, while people think about Nigeria as the sort of the place where this originates from the most, is much an internal threat as it is an external threat. So while Nigerians are sort of known in many places as being, like say, con artists, it's also a problem that we're facing internally. Again, I'm owning up to the problems that we have. So now I saw that this was an issue, and I was like, okay, so how can I help people overcome these things? How can I help people identify phishing emails? How can my 70-year-old mother know a phishing email from her bank, that's impersonating her bank, from an email from her bank actually? How will my uneducated domestic worker know the difference between a call from a fraudster from a call from, say, their banks, for example? So these are the things I said. I'm like, okay, I want to serve these people. I want them to be able to know these things. And then I didn't set out to be top 50 women in Africa in cybersecurity, but did it come to me naturally? It did. So service is a very great way to lead. So again, that's been part of my journey. Service has just been an integral part of it. I really set out to help people and share my value, and of course it's helped establish me as a thought leader. Now I want to share something very personal now. I don't know if this is allowed here, but if you ever want to get married as a woman who wants to build a career, I want you to know that who you marry is the strongest career decision you ever make. If marriage is important to you. If marriage is not important to you, you don't need to listen to this. Who you marry, especially in this part of the world where I'm from, who you marry would either make you excel exponentially, or will make you retrogress, or will stagnate you. As a woman, you already have so many forces against you. The last thing you want to add is someone in your corner, in your most private corner, who doesn't want you to grow. So if you're in that stage where you're trying to pick out a life partner, I want you to really prioritize how that person in actions really supports your career, because there will be times where that will be tested so much. I have had my husband babysit our baby at work. Now, while that is okay in the Western world, in Nigeria, that is not normal. I've had to attend meetings and my nanny, maybe for example, has walked out on us and I had nowhere to put him in that really short time and my husband had taken him to work. Now, in those scenarios, I could just have said, you know what, cancel those important meetings. But I was able to get that support. And in many other ways, I've gotten that support. And I would say that that's also been a strong success factor for me. I married someone who takes my career very seriously and has given me the leeway to grow. If you're in that place in life, I would tell you for free that the man you marry will be a strong determinant of how fast you go in this path of becoming whatever your dreams are currently. Again, our dreams can evolve. Like I said, mine evolved. Same thing with Manuela. Manuela's dream evolved, but who you marry is very, very important. Now, another key thing I want to share about my journey is around visibility. So I became top 50 women in Africa in cybersecurity, also because of my visibility. If you were to search for people in cybersecurity on LinkedIn, I most likely will pop on the first page in Nigeria. Now, it's important that you are intentional about not just being good at what you do, but also being known to be good. You know, as women, we sort of are very humble about the things we're able to do. It comes to us naturally to play down the things we're able to do. But the world does not reward people who are necessarily just good at what they do. The world rewards people, opportunities will seek people who know that they're good at what they do and they put themselves out as the best people for the job. It would also help even with your negotiation abilities. I looked at what one of the speakers was speaking about. She was ranking, you know, what things are important to her, and she had I think the top two things she ranked was pay. You're able to do that very easily and negotiate strongly on that table when you're speaking about your pay, because you're very visible and you know you're a person of value and you're confident that you're a person of value. So it's really important that you establish visibility. It's not just good enough that you're very great at what you're doing, you're putting the hours, you're very great at what you're doing. It's also very important that people know that you're very good. In fact, you're the best thing that has ever happened to them after jollof rice. So jollof rice is a specialty in Nigeria. I'm sure Foyi and Getha should know this. So you need people to know that you are so good. You're so good at what you do. I'll be rounding up very soon. But it's also another key thing to note is you are your own biggest cheerleader. Give yourself a shout out, pump yourself up, you know, because the world will only recognize you when you see yourself as that person of value. If you look at yourself in the mirror and you're a lion and you see a cat, soon enough people will think you're a cat. If you look at yourself in the mirror, I'm not saying you should be a cat in the mirror. You should be a lion. You should be a cat out and then see yourself as a lion, and then people will begin to see you as that. No, but it's important that you give yourself those shout out. Be your biggest hype man, because while you achieve those very beautiful things and you keep them quiet, it's a nice and easy way to go, but it will not yield more things, because I say that good work always attracts more work. So if you become MVP, talk about it, let people celebrate yourself, let people see that you have done this. It might not be the big wins even. It might be the very little things. You were able to program this, we were able to develop this very little thing that has been giving issues doing. Talk about it. Because you'll also be helping other people see that they can also do it. Very quickly, because I know I'm out of time, it is okay to know what I've said this before, but I just want to reiterate: it's okay not to know what to do in the earlier stages of your career, but more importantly, stay hungry for knowledge, stay voracious for it, because you see, being good at what you have to do or what you do doesn't have a gender attached to it. A woman could be excellent at that job, as great or even better than the man. But this day and time, if you're good at what you're doing, whether or not gender is an issue where you're in the part of the world you are in, you become the chosen person. So it's important that you become that person of value by continuously growing yourself. I don't know. I think I've gone past my time, so I'm just going to stop here. I'm just going to stop right here now and just let the organizers take over. But thank you so much, Foyin, and thank you so much, ladies, for the opportunity to just speak to you about my journey and how I got to top 50.
Thank you so much, Confidence. Thank you. Your energy is amazing. Always.
Thank you,
Confidence.
Foyin.
She's a beautiful soul in and out, and I'm so glad that I have met her. She's always so willing to help. Like, I literally bumped into her schedule and said, "Girl, you're gonna do this," and she made herself available. Thank you for all the tips. And it's important, and I think that's one of the major reasons why we started our TechStylers, because I mean, in our bigger community right here in Nigeria, if we say, "Oh, call for speakers," we don't see any ladies signing up to say, "I want to talk about this," but they know the stuff. A lot of ladies know how to do this, but they just are not willing, or they're not confident enough, or they feel, "Oh, I don't want to take the risks. I may not do so well." And also, one of the things we're trying to do is boost our confidence level. And we're trusting that we're getting there. I can see a lot of ladies rising now in the community, and gaining that confidence that is required. So yes, thank you for your sharing your story, and sharing your tips with us. Eliza, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us in July's TechStylers Meetup. Make sure you follow Foyin and at tech_stylers on Twitter so that you can be aware of the next meetup for August. I want to say a big thank you to all of our speakers around the world today. So we had Amara, Malin, Geetha, Manuela, and Confidence, which I must say the name pretty much reflects who you are, Confidence. I must say, like, very confident and very full of energy. Thank you all so much. And I hope that you enjoy your Saturday evening wherever you are, or your Sunday morning if you're here on this side of the world, over in Australia and New Zealand. And as always, thank you to all of the audience who have joined in today, even the men in here as well. TechStylers is not only for women, but also for others of all genders, races, and nationalities. Everyone is welcome. And I want to say a big thank you to Foyin for tirelessly organizing this, and will be doing so for the next few months. So if you want to be a speaker, do reach out to Foyin. I'm sure she's open to anyone and everyone who wants to share their story, or even do a nice demo in the same way that Geetha did. Thank you.
Right, thank you everyone, and see you in August.
Hey,
Bye.
I just wanted to quickly check in with Flora, because I want to make sure that she gets my
Yes.
So
Okay.
if you want to, if you don't want to share your email here.
Geetha, I got her email address. I'll send it across to you.
Oh, great. Yes, that would be helpful. Thank you. That'd be awesome. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. See you next time.
Bye.